Hey guys, it's Vandy Ezel, back at another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon, and let's get this one started. Today's deck is, finally, my Gold Paladin Ezel deck profile. I have been meaning to do this for a long time, wanted to wait till I got to a certain number of subscribers, but considering that I'm not going to hit that certain number before Overdress hits the states unless, everyone just decides to subscribe and bring me to 100 now, which I don't think is going to happen, then might as well do this now because they're not going to give Ezels more support later on because they've given us everything they can, and if they do, then I'll be the first in line for it. So let's go ahead and get this deck started because this will be the last deck for V-Series. First up as our starter, we've got Crimson Light Cub Criff, 6k base, 10k shield, grade 0 with boost. Auto when rode upon, it's a standard you get to draw a card that for some reason I always top deck off of, followed by, if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 1 or greater, you get a quick shield ticket. So like that 5k shield that for some reason has the art of a shield, is called a shield, but not as an actual shield, but it's just somehow how it works, and I just like the look of Criff. It's one of my favorite cards, and I have named some of my book characters off of him, so, he has a special place in my heart because he's also related to Ezel, so, yeah. Trigger-wise, it's the same trigger as Spectral Duke, if you don't remember what that is. We've got 6 draws, 2 of them being Foresight Courier, the other 4 being Halo Shield Mark, and we'll get to that in a second. 2 of Knight of Hard, Forceful Fight, Nalez, 4 Dontagal, and then here's the Mark, and then followed by 4 Elixir Sommelier. Why no crits? Well, I don't think you need crits in this deck. This deck stacks your drive checks, and you get to basically get some free calls, so you need the front triggers to help benefit you, and for some reason, every time I stack my drive check, I see 2 fronts, exactly 2 fronts, and I always find it funny, but, yeah, you just need the fronts, and then I like to use Dontagal at 4 instead of Nolans at 4, like how I do with Spectral Duke. It's just because Dontagal is kind of like man's best friend, because it's a dog, and I think it was the first stand trigger printed for golds, was it? If it wasn't for the first stand trigger, it was used in Aichi's deck for a long time, so, might as well use it here too, because it was following Ezel's for a while. It's also one of the front triggers I own, so might as well. And now into the grade 1 lineup. First up, 4 copies of Listener of Truth and Drain, 7k base, 10k shield, grade 1 with boost, auto rear when placed by your card's ability, Soul Blast 1 and draw a card, or countercharge 1 and this unit gets plus 3k power to end of turn. So, pretty much you gotta pay Soul Blast regardless, and you either get a free draw out of it, or you get a countercharge and plus 3k power. It's kind of up to you what you use at that point. You get a lot of soul, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but you get a decent amount of soul in this deck. There are some things you don't want to Soul Blast, obviously, some of them being Ezels, and when I say some of them, I mean all of them being Ezels. But if you want to get the extra draw, you can, but I normally don't like to use the extra draw skill. I don't think I've ever used the draw skill now that I think about it, but I normally just use it for countercharging because most of the time I just counterblast more than I actually need the draw for. So 4 copies, but if you do want to use its draw skill, you can. And you will be able to call this thing out with abilities with any of the Ezels except for Ravenhair, I think, but it's because you're never going to be on Ravenhair unless you're in that bad of a situation. So Dindrain's at 4 because it can be useful. 4 copies of Crimson Lion Beast Hoel, 8k base, 10k shield, grade 1 boost, auto rear at the end of the battle that it boosted. If you have a Vanguard with Ezel in its card name, counterblast 1, put it to soul, draw a card, and call a card from hand to rear. So, regardless if the battle hit or not, at the end of it, if you have an Ezel Vanguard, aka if you are at grade 3, it is guaranteed. Unless your opponent is cheating and somehow changed your Vanguard's name to not Ezel, despite the fact that the only grade 3s in this deck are Ezels, you are guaranteed to shove it to soul, pay a counterblast, draw a card, and get a free call out of it and possibly get multi-attack. It's very helpful because it can get you souls for Dindrain so you don't have to Soul Blast your Ezels. It can get you more attacks. And it can just get you a free draw, which you might just draw into a PG from it. I have multiple times, and it's always the helpful card. So 4 copies of Hoel. You also need it for a grade 2 that we'll discuss later. 4 copies of Knight of Elegance Goes Gareth. 8k base, 10k shield, grade 1, boost, auto rear when placed by your card's ability. Counterblast 1 and it gets plus 10k power. So just an 18k swinger. I never use this skill because the only reason why it's here is because to go into the original Ezel, you have to have Gareth in deck or just on board. So that's pretty much why it's here. It's also at 4 just in case I damage check 1 or I draw 1. I want to be able to get multiple out of deck. And in the off chance that I do decide to use its skill, at least, I got multiple to not use its skill with. I just don't like using its skill because I don't like wasting Counterblast on something that's on end of turn skill or something that doesn't, in one of these Ezel's cases, stack drive checks. So, plus I don't think the temp power is normally helpful, considering the only time I will call it by effects is during like first grade 3 turn, which to an opponent would technically be grade 1 turn, and I probably wouldn't need the 10k anyways unless I wanted to bully them, and I normally use that counter boss for later things. So 4 copies of Gareth, but you can use him as you wish. Now into grade 2s, 2 copies of Sacred Guardian Beast Nemean Lion, 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. I'm not sure why I was about to say boost. Auto Van Rear Guard Circle, when placed from hand it gets plus 3k power and 5k shield. So I like Nemean. A lot of people use different things. A lot of people run Agravale and Percival in this deck. I did consider it at some point. I even test played it because I was curious. And yeah, you get a lot of extra Excel gifts with it, and this deck can just punish your opponent when you add more Excel gifts to the mix. But I don't really like to combine cards a lot. This deck is no exception to it, but it's also the reason why I do it in the first place. So yeah, take with that as you wish. But Nemean Lion is always a helpful card. It's a 12k swinger, so it can hit like protect and excel numbers. Definitely not force numbers because that's just the 1k difference. That 5k shield is helpful though, especially with my personal playstyle of the deck where I will rush you down. Give or take like that very first grade 3 turn where even if you're a grade 1 or grade 2, regardless, when I get to grade 3 first, I will not rush you. The most I will commit from hand is 2 cards, and those are probably Bowman / Wonder Ezel / anything else that I need for the Superior Ride, and then after that I won't commit anything else. And then the following turn, rush the hell out of you until you die. So having that extra 5k shield, even if it's only at 2, is always helpful for me. So 2 copies of Nemean. And next up, 4 copies of the thing that we need Hoel for. 4 copies of Flamewind Lion Wonder Ezel, the thing that I'm pretty sure is banned in Premium. 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 intercept, act Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, and retire a Crimson Lion Beast Hoel, or on rear. Search your deck for up to 1 Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel, ride it as stand and it gets -1 drive until end of turn, and shuffle your deck. So yes, it has to be on Van to do it, but also that'd be way too broken if it was on rear, considering how much you could spam that. So, get a free kill of the Hoel rear guard, and then Superior Ride Ezel from deck. And yeah, it loses a drive, but it loses a drive anyways. And then you get an Excel gift out of it, because Ezel has an Excel gift. And then auto rear guard when placed, you may call a card from hand to rear. It's not as good, but it can jumpstart your Dendrain to get you a counter charge or a draw out of it. So it's always really helpful. My only problem with this is it bricks without Hoel. There was only one time I've ever quote unquote bricked with Ezels where my hand was perfect. I had a Wonder Ezel, I had Raven-haired Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel, and somehow a Platinum Ezel. And then I had Gareth, and I needed either Bowman or Hoel to make my hand perfect. I draw. I don't draw into either. I ride Gareth because I assume I'm going to... Because if I did draw into a Bowman, I would be fine. I draw a card. Still don't see a Hoel or a Bowman. Wait till the next turn. Draw again. Still don't see a Hoel or Bowman. Then I realized I'm fucked because I can't do my Superior Ride play. But it's when you see either of the two, it's always still helpful. So 4 copies. And if whatever you run the other one at, you got to run the other one at too because it makes sense. Speaking of Bowman, 4 copies of Knight of Superior Skills Bowman. But first off, explain to me how that spells Bowman, because when I think of Bowman, I think of B-O-M-A-N, not that. But I guess that's how it's spelled. 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto Van rear when placed from hand. Discard a card from hand, search your deck for up to 1 Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth. Call it to rear and shuffle your deck, and then auto rear when placed by your card's ability gets plus 3k power to end of turn. So if you call it by any of the Ezel's abilities, it's a 12k base. And I love this thing's skill. Yes, it has to be placed from hand to get the superior call of Gareth. But 1, the original Ezel does that for you. 2, this thing also is just an on-play, so you can call it from Platinum Ezel's ability, then use its skill, call this from your hand, then use this thing's skill to call Gareth, and just from 1 unit you get 3 more attacks out of it. But that's not the reason why I like it. It's an instant setup for Ezel. If you have this, you can get a Gareth. Basically, when I mulligan so that I have 1 Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel guaranteed because the deck kind of falls apart without it. It doesn't necessarily fall apart, but it's best just to have that as your first ride. And then proceeding to mulligan for a Bowman, because if you have Bowman and Ezel, you can have the whole combo set up. And I like how Bowman it was in the first Gold Paladin set, and it's an immediate setup for Ezel. Normally other decks had to wait so long, or a decent amount of time, to get an actual setup card to guarantee that you get to do what you want to do. Ezel's got it in their very first fucking set, and I'm very happy for that. So 4 copies of Bowman, because he can just instantly get you a free Ezel turn and then bring your opponent down to their knees. Next up, we've got 3 copies of Raven-haired Ezel, onto grade 3s. 12k base, grade 3, twin drive, Excel marker. This is my least favorite of all the Ezels in every single generation, but it's still an Ezel and I do like it. It's just my least favorite out of all of them. Act hand if your Vanguard is an incandescent lion blonde Ezel. Counterblast 1, ride it as stand. So let me get this straight. You could just go first, ride anything you want, your opponent goes, they swing at your Vanguard, you take it, they pull crit, whatever, you take a damage, you go to 1, face up damage, stand and draw, ride either Wonder Ezel, Bowman, proceed to use their skills to superior ride an Ezel from either hand or deck regardless, and get an Excel gift out of it, draw a card, then proceed to use Ravenhair to counterblast, ride into it, get another Excel gift, draw another card from Zed Excel gift, because presumably you're picking Excel 2 at this point, and you just get 2 more Excel gifts, so you have a total of 5 front row rear guards, while your opponent's at grade 1, and after we get to the next skill, you can basically send in to restrict your opponent. Yeah, this definitely is fair, you know? Best fair deck in the nation. Definitely not bull at all. Auto Van, when it attacks, if you have Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel in your soul, counterblast 1 until end of battle, gets plus 15k power and plus 1 crit in your opponent cannot guard with Sentinels from hand. So, you know, swinging for 27, double crit, no Sentinels, your opponent can't really do anything. It's very fun just watching this thing go off because, you know, you get those 2 free Excel gifts while your opponent's at grade 1, so you already have the more advantage than you need, followed by you can just prevent them from using Sentinels and then rush them down with extra crits, so by the time they do get to grade 3, oh, they're fucked. Like, I remember this time when I was testing out Ezel, or not necessarily technically it was testing out, and I was playing against someone, I don't remember their name because this was like months ago, but we were playing, they were using Nubatama, I believe they were going for Shiranui, and it wasn't Shiranui, it was Congo, I don't know why I'm thinking Shiranui, but I went first, and then played out the exact same way I listed this out, except I forgot to use Ravenhair. But then I thought about it, if I did use Ravenhair, I would have such a dick advantage because they couldn't do shit to me, because I would have had so many Excel gifts compared to them being at grade 1, and if I were to have done it, I pushed them to 5 damage before they even got to grade 3, and I pushed them to 4 when they got to grade 2, so, you know, very fun to have. So 3 copies of Ravenhair, because it can always give you that benefit, and it just gives me fun memories. But it is my least favorite, though. So, give and take. Next up, 4 copies of Blazing Lion Platinum Ezel. The one that I just screamed the name of, and whenever I would use its ultimate break in real life, I would just scream ultimate break, proceed to put my hand down how they do in the anime, and hover my hand over it, and then proceed to just act like I'm Aichi for like 5 seconds. But skill, 12k base Excel gift, twin drive, grade 3 as per usual. Act Vanguard, counterblast 1, and change this turn's first drive check to look at top 2, reveal it to 1 and put it to your trigger zone, and call the other one to rear, and if your soul has 2 or more grade 3s, change the second drive check of the turn or more as well. So, pretty much, you get a guaranteed stack drive check regardless. So, say for example, in your top 2, you see a front trigger and a Wonder Ezel when you use its skill. Then you can put the front trigger in the drive check zone, then call the Wonder Ezel because the Wonder Ezel is being called before you do the drive check, technically speaking. The front trigger will activate. Wonder Ezel's effect will not activate before the front trigger is seen, so you can't just call Bowman, call Gareth, shuffle the deck, get more power out of it. But that's still good. And then you can stack the drive check. The only problem with this is that you have to have 2 or more grade 3s in soul. Here's how you do that. Go into Ezel, proceed to use Ravenhair Ezel skill. Boom! You got 2 grade 3s now. Just ride Platinum Ezel on top of Ravenhair, and then you're good. That's literally what you do. Or you can just ride Platinum twice, but it's still fun. And just 4 copies, because, you know, he can stack your drive checks. He can abuse your opponent. And for some reason, every time I use this, my top 4, I don't know why, but every time I use it first time, it's always a front trigger, Bowman, proceed to the next one. It's a front trigger and then something else. So it's always fun seeing. So 4 copies. I also like his artwork. And finally, our main card of the deck, and literally the whole thing that I named my YouTube channel after, more or less, and also the card that kind of made me interested in Vanguard in the first place, Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel. 12k base, Excel gift, twin drive, grade 3, beautiful ass artwork, and if anyone disagrees with me, I will fight you. Act hand if you have a Knight of Superior Skills Bowman and Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth on your van or rear. Soul Blast 1 Criff. Ride it as stand, and if your opponent's Vanguard is a grade 2 or less, you lose a drive, unfortunately. But you still get a bonus out of it. Well, also, Auto Van, when it attacks, you may call a card from hand to rear. So, you basically get some added attacks to it, because when you call, you can most likely call Wonder Ezel. If you can't tell, just you call Wonder Ezel whenever you have a chance to call something. Or if you call something from hand and you have a Bowman, you might want to call the Bowman just to get more attacks out of it. Or if you have both, just call Wonder Ezel, then Bowman, and then use Bowman skill. Pretty much those two alone are just a good combo card. But I really like this card, mainly for the first skill, the Superior Ride. I always like getting to grade 3 before my opponent. That Superior Ride is always the extra bonus. But also, unlike in the original where technically Ezel couldn't Superior Ride, you had to use Criff for it. And for Criff, you had to have Gareth on rear and Bowman on van. This time, you can have either of those two on rear, and Criff just has to be in the soul. I'm now starting to understand why they never gave us a unit for golds that just said, shove a card from drop into soul. Because they gave Dream Painter to Royals, and they gave Nightmare Painter, whatever it's called, to Shadows. So now I'm starting to understand why they never gave one to golds, because if they did, we could just spam Ezel till the day turns to dusk. But it's still a good card because you can use it whenever, and you just get a free gift. So you can go ride Ezel normally for whatever reason that may be, get an XL2 because you might not have the pieces that you need on board, draw a card from the XL2. Oh, look at that, the pieces I'm missing. Call Z pieces you're missing. Use the one enhanced skill, Soul Blast the Criff. Ride again, get another Excel gift. Oh, look at that, a Ravenhair. Skill of Ravenhair, Counterblast. Oh, look at that, I got 3 gifts. How much gifts you got? Oh, right, none, because you're a grade 1, bitch. And then proceed to kill them. So, I just like that as a line. It's always fun using. Back in the original, they were so focused on, calling down rear guards to the board, and I always loved doing that and powering them up with Platina, who just basically give the whole board 5k power. And I like this one, where now they're kind of less focused on calling, but they kind of are, and more focused on just, one of them's focused on just technically spamming out more gifts with the 2 combo pieces right here. And then they focus on getting a high amounts of power with drive check stacking and extra critical boy. And finally, we on to the gifts. 6 XL1s, 6 XL2s. I mentioned XL2 a lot in this. So for XL1, if you don't know, well, for both XL gifts regardless, if you don't know, they give you an extra form of rear guard. XL1 gives the unit plus 10. XL2 gives the unit on the circle plus 5, and you get to draw a card when the XL2 is placed. So, I like to normally use XL2. Like I said, I'm very aggressive with this deck, so having the extra hand card is really helpful to me. If you want to go for the XL1 just to absolutely punish your opponent and make them regret ever thinking that playing against Gold Paladins was a good idea, then go, for all means, go for it. Beat the shit out of them. Show them why you should never fuck with Gold Paladins. I'm there for it. But yeah, Gold Paladins is my main clan, and I've been waiting to do this forever. And finally, our Quick Shield ticket. So, when one of your units is attacked, it gets plus 5k power till end of battle. I will say this till the end of the days where I die. Why is it called a Quick Shield and have the art of a shield if it's not an actual shield? I will never understand that. And that was the deck. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. That was our last deck for V-Series, and I've been waiting to do this forever, and I'm finally glad I got to do it despite the fact I didn't get to release it when I wanted to. But hey, that's just sometimes how the world works. And after this, we'll be going into Overdress. So, yeah. And I have no idea what to say because I did not plan it far this hard. I did not plan this far ahead in the video, but all I gotta say is this. I have enjoyed playing V-Series. I've enjoyed playing Gold since the start of my days of playing Vanguard. And I will forever love Ezels, and that is why I've waited this long to actually do the deck profile. So, as my normal outro goes, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Donate to the Patreon. I have a second channel focused on Beyblade in the description below, so go subscribe to that. I have a Discord, so you can go follow that. Join that, and we can chat, and you could suggest things or have fights. And then we have a Twitch channel, so you can go follow that one. And I will eventually start streaming to it within the next 2 months, mainly because I'm trying to not get busy. And that's everything? Yeah, that's everything. So, in the end, I hope you guys enjoy it, and don't forget to stand up your vanguards.